Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to another edition of our Dailyish Devotionals. I am Pastor Brian, and I am glad you have joined me today. We have a bit of a different format. I am not going to go through a chapter in Max's book, God Came Near, but I promise what I have for you today will be a hoot. We never know where to go or who we'll be talking about, but I just couldn't find a chapter that I liked was speaking to me today. I've had a couple of experiences with my boys the past couple days that I thought maybe could inform us a little bit about our relationship with God. So if you're interested, I'm going to share a little bit about some interactions with my children and see if there might not be some truth there for us to glean about our own relationship with God. I thought that cartoon was kind of funny. The world's first book club made me chuckle. So a couple things happened in the past couple days. One, my youngest realized some advice we gave him worked out and helped him out in school. And two, in watching my oldest Isaac play football, has gave me some lessons. First, my youngest. He started fifth grade, and he had a test, a DLR test, I think is what he called it, some kind of an English test last week. I think they have one every week. And he has a sheet that he's supposed to study, and he did not study for that one. And he didn't get the grade that he thought he should get. He was disappointed in the grade that he received. And so Mom and I had a chat with him and said, you do have to study probably for those tests. And if you study and put the work in and still get a disappointing grade, well, that's okay. Sometimes that just happens. But if you do not study or work at it and get a disappointing grade, then that's when we have to have a talk or an issue. We may have to intervene because you're not doing your best. We don't expect perfection, but we expect you to put the effort in to at least try to work towards doing your best. So this last week, so 2 weeks ago that test was, he didn't do as well as he wanted. And then last week he had our test, and he brought his sheet home like we had suggested, and he studied, and he ended up getting a good grade. He was satisfied with the grade that he had, as with his mother and I. And we were coming home yesterday from school, Monday, and he said, his quote was, "Dad, if I got a good grade on my test, can I skip Isaac's game tonight?" And I said, "Well, probably not, but did you get a good grade on your test?" And he said, "Yes, I did." I said, "Well, good." I said, "Isn't it amazing what happens when you do a little studying and listening to the advice that your parents gave you?" And all I could do was kind of smile in the passenger seat and shake his head yes, because he knew he had to listen to us. And this was the second time he's reminded that maybe Mom and Dad do know what they're talking about. Because on Friday, one of his classmates wasn't feeling very good, and he had been up late the night before and then up early, of course, for school, and he just wasn't feeling very good. And Alice came home that Friday and said, "I know why you make me go to bed at night at a decent time, so I am rested and I feel good when I get up." And I said, "Yes, you are correct." Again, Mom and Dad might know what they're talking about. And he gave me that little grin and just shook his head because, again, he could not deny it. So twice he was remembered that maybe his parents are a little smarter than he gives them credit for. Of course, he's only 11, so he's not quite to that stage yet where we become idiots. That's coming up when he turns 14 or 15. Where his brother is now, I got to give Isaac credit. He doesn't really consider us idiots. There are plenty of eye rolls and just, "Why are you making me do this?" Mostly with his mom. I don't know how we're going to get through this with them two not going to fisticuffs, but I'll play mediator as best as I can. But the interaction with Alex reminded me that parents do know what's best for life. That's kind of like our relationship with God. God knows what's best for our life, and a lot of times reluctantly, after many failures, we finally listen and try it God's way. Like, oh, that was easier or at least better for me than what the other way would have been. We're kind of like kids in that way. We don't necessarily want to take that advice, especially if that advice goes contrary to staying up late all hours playing video games, getting up wherever we want, or not having to worry about grades or schoolwork. Especially if that advice is a little difficult, then we don't necessarily want to take and listen to it from God, do we? If it doesn't go with what we think the best path is, even though we might know or we should understand that God's plan is what's best. Now, in cheering for my son Isaac in football, maybe we got a glimpse of kind of the way God feels about us. Isaac and Tri-Center, they're blessed to be able to play football for a great coach. Isaac absolutely enjoys playing for Coach Schroeder and all the coaches there, and they are blessed to have such a staff and to be able to play this year with all the nuts stuff that's going on in the world. He's a freshman, so he gets to play just a little bit on varsity and when it's mop-up duty, and then he gets to play backup quarterback on JV. And his parents in the stands are cheering for any sport, but football, it kind of hit me here, especially with Isaac playing quarterback, because you know immediately when they screw up. And of course, you feel bad because you want them to do well. And he makes his fair share of mistakes, as most freshmen, all kids do when they play. Just as quarterback, you know immediately, usually when the quarterback screws up. And as we're sitting in the stands, you feel bad. You want them to do better. And sometimes as fathers, they're hollering instructions on how they should be doing differently, or doing this, or why didn't you do that, or do this better, be aggressive, be better. We fathers become much better football players as we get older. No matter what our high school careers were, we are way better now. We're way better high school players now than we were back when we actually were in high school. And sometimes as parents, we can become a little bit too involved, maybe. I'm always mindful of the car ride home to be the encouraging parent and not the coach breaking down every play. I was blessed with a dad who did that with me. He always waited until I wanted to talk about the game. And we never broke down film or talked about specific plays, or he never questioned why I did that or why I didn't do that unless I brought it up. So that was wonderful. I never ever hated the car rides home, and always even looked forward to those talks about the game. And so I try to do that with both my kids, but Isaac now especially. I don't bring up the game. It's just good job until he does. And then he'll ask, and I say, well, do you want to know from your father or from as objective observer as I can be? And he usually says both. And I just tell him what I saw, and we talk about different things. And I ask him way too many questions in his mind about, what will the coaches tell you? What are the other players telling you? Or how do you feel? And we talk about that. But to relate this to God, I wonder if God is the big cheerleader for us. I guess I don't wonder. I know. I know that God knows what's best for us, and I know God is on the sideline, which is maybe a crude analogy, but kind of cheering us on, hoping we seek advice and hoping we listen to it. But where the difference is I don't think God ever gets over involved, should I say, as sometimes parents can, or sometimes I can want to with sports. You want your kid to do so well, and then when they don't, sometimes even you're more bummed than they are. And you're bummed, of course, when they make mistakes, and I believe God is bummed when we make mistakes. But I wonder if God on the sideline wishes we would listen to the cheerleading and the encouragement more. We're so tuned into mistakes, the negativity. What if we heard more of the cheering and the good jobs that come from sideline? And what if we're reminded more of how God views us, His or God's beloved children? Isn't that what we want our kids to do? Is to hear us cheering for them and to have them realize that they are our beloved children and we'll love them no matter what? I hope so. So maybe a couple lessons from my blabbing on here. And here is one: listen to God. God knows best. Do your homework. Study. Work hard. And also hear God cheering from the sideline. Maybe giving you some instructions here and there, mostly telling you, hey, you're a beloved child of mine. Do your best. Work hard. Have fun. That's all I ask. Lessons learned from the Woolier boys. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you don't take from it that you think I'm some perfect parent, because certainly I am not. Maybe just some things I've tried to pick up and learn along the way. Hopefully I inspired you too. Amen.